Okay guys, this is going to be the first video in a series of videos that I'm going to title the Winhance Development Diaries. And in these videos, I just want to take you more behind the scenes of what I'm doing when I'm developing Winhance, announcing stuff that I will be working on before it's implemented, and then also just share my thoughts along the way of how I'm going about doing certain things and just my overall thought process as I'm developing this application. You might not know this, but I'm not a qualified developer. I didn't take a course in programming or coding or whatever. I'm leveraging artificial intelligence and the tools that come with it to help me write the software to get the ideas that I have in my head into a working, functioning application. So I wanted to start documenting all of that and not just provide update videos about Winhance. Those are going to be separate videos. I'll create dedicated videos for when I release a major Winhance version, and they'll clearly have the title telling you that it's a new Winhance update. But like I said before, these behind the scenes videos or the development diaries is going to be titled the Winhance Development Diaries. And these videos are for those of you who might have some coding experience or just want to follow along to the more technical side of how Winhance is being developed. So with all of that being said, I just made an update to the README on the GitHub project here, and I added a few things. The first thing is I added the section that I'm going to be changing for every update that I release, which just gives you the Winhance security information for the specific version. So you'll see I added the hash values for both the installer and the actual executable file so that you can verify that you do have the official version that only I release. I am working on getting the application signed with a digital certificate, and that process is in progress, but I have to wait on the certificate authorities to verify all my information before they're going to release the digital certificate. And even with that certificate, I'll still be posting these values for each update so that you can be absolutely sure that you do have the official version. Because someone did point out to me in a YouTube comment that people are going to be taking the application and they'll be bundling it with malware and all of that. And we have to have a way of making sure that there is a way to determine that you have the official Winhance version that's developed by me. So a really easy way that you can check if the installer and the executable is official, if it matches these values that I put here for the specific version that you downloaded. What I use is 7-Zip, and 7-Zip is a free compression utility. You can download it for free. But what you'll do once you've installed it is you'll just navigate to the file, right click on it, go to the 7-Zip context menu item, then you've got the CRC option here, and then you can just choose the SHA-256, and then it's going to display that hash value for you for the file that you just selected. So then you can verify this hash value with the one that's posted on the official GitHub page. And you can do the same thing with the Winhance executable, but honestly, if you just do this with the installer installs the executable file. So if you're sure that you have the official installer that you can only get from the Winhance GitHub repo or from the winhance.net downloads page, then you should be fine and safe, but this is a security measure for the future. So the next thing I added to the README is this roadmap/to-do section, and I just want to take you through this section real quick and tell you where we're currently standing with the development of Winhance. So as I've explained here, the items below are planned changes and features for future releases. I've also got a little legend here telling you what the icons mean. So we've got a coming soon icon, an in progress icon, and then a completed icon. So then just a note here, if you do see a completed icon, it means that the completed items are committed to the source code files, but the changes will not be visible in the application until the next release or update is released to the application. So it means I have implemented that fix, and the fix is in the files here, in the source code files, but it won't be visible until I recompile the application and then release a new version. But if you've installed Winhance Release 5 or anything after that, then you'll be notified of the updates when you launch Winhance for the next time. So if you continue with the items here, I can show you there's a whole bunch of items that I added here, and where I got all of these items from was I went through the comment section on the YouTube videos that I've been posting about Winhance lately, and I read through all of the comments. I did that last week, so if there's any new comments, I might have missed those. But last week, I went through all of those comments. I made notes about the feedback that you guys are giving, and then I also sat and went through all of the issues that we currently have on the Winhance GitHub page, and I made notes of those issues so we can keep track of everything that must be changed or implemented or fixed. So I'm going to take you through these items that we currently have here in the Winhance Development Diaries video number 1. And these items is what I'm going to be working on next and implementing in a future update. So just to be clear, I'm not saying that I'm not going to push another update to Winhance until I've completed all of these items. I'm saying these are the items that I'm currently aware of and that I'm going to work on to get implemented in future versions. So what I can tell you about the status indicators is if it has a work in progress icon, the chances are likely that you'll see that implemented in the next update that I'll release. The coming soon icon means it's probably not going to be in the next update. And then the checkmark icon means it'll definitely be in the next update. So if we go through all of these sections real quick, I'm going to take you through what I'm currently going to work on. So for the Winhance installation, there's currently an issue where the Winhance shortcut is not appearing in the start menu. And then also when people change the default installation location, it's not being accepted by the installer. I also have plans to add Winhance as a WinGet package to make Winhance installable via WinGet. And in the future, I'll also be adding it to the Microsoft Store, although that's not on this list now. Then in the main window, I'm going to be adding a new navigation button, which will be titled More. And when you click on it, it's going to give you options to see the current Winhance version. It's also going to have a check for updates button. It'll have some about Winhance info. You'll have a shortcut to the Winhance logs directory and then also to the Winhance scripts directory. So I'm planning on adding that at the bottom here. And when you click on it, you'll have access to these options here. And I might even add more as I'm working on this. Then for the config import, I want to improve the config import to have checkboxes for subcategories in each category. So what I mean by that is in this configuration screen here, you're only able to select between Windows apps, external apps, customization settings, and optimization settings. But instead of just having checkboxes for these items, I want to have the subcategories here as well. So for example, in the optimization settings, you'll have power settings, notification settings, Windows update settings. So basically, I want the config import screen to match the subcategories that we have in the actual view. So you'll have an option to select each one of these sections when you import a configuration file. And that's going to be for both the optimize and the customize view. The software and app screen doesn't really need that, except maybe if we want to give more control over the external software section so people can choose which apps they want in these different categories. But I think the software and app screen is fine on that. It's more for the optimizations and then the customizations. So next on the software and app screen, someone requested that I add detection of the installed apps and update notification for those apps. So this is both for Windows apps and external apps. And then I'm going to be adding an internet connection check before attempting to install an application. And then I also want to add internet checks during the app installation in case of timeouts that occurs, because currently we have this issue where even though there is no internet, Winhance reports that the installation was successful, and I obviously missed that because it should be checking if there's internet before attempting to install an application. But I also want to go one step further and add additional checks during the installation so that it doesn't falsely report that it is installed, but the internet might have cut out during mid-installation of the application. And then something I already fixed was the typo on the custom dialog box that incorrectly says that it was installed without an E. So basically, if you were to select an application here and click on install selected items, that E was missing. And that was just related to how it constructed the sentence, because it actually does it by the operation type that it's going to perform, meaning install or remove. So I just added a helper method that fixed that and got the correct message shown. Next, if we have a look at the Windows apps and features section, I want to add icons next to the Winhance removal status that when clicked deletes the scripts and scheduled tasks that are present when Winhance was previously run, like the bloat removal script, the edge removal script, and the OneDrive removal script. So what I mean by this is in the application here, next to this part, I just want to have 3 icons representing each script file. There's also going to be an indicator telling you if the specific script is on your computer, and I might even remove this Winhance status here and replace it with these 3 indicators so that you know if you have the bloat removal script, the edge removal script, or the OneDrive removal script, or all three of them currently present on your computer. And then you can just click on that icon to delete it. So that's just if you want to start from scratch, or if you don't want the continuous removal script on your computer and you just want to use it for a one-time removal of these applications. Next, I need to rework the edge removal script so it doesn't uninstall WebView, and I also need to update the WebView installation process. Then I also need to fix the message that says we can't open this Microsoft Edge link because due to the edge removal, there's no default browser found. So there is a fix for that. I just need to implement it. And then currently Winhance fails to remove OneNote on Windows 11. And in my testing, this is because OneNote is no longer an AppX package like it is on the default installation of Windows 10. It will probably need its own removal script, or we'll need to uninstall it using its own uninstaller. So I'll definitely be adding that in the next update because I am working on that at the moment. Then in the external software, for app installations, give the users the option to choose a location to install the application. I want to add a website icon next to each app in the external software section that'll take the user to the specific app's web page so that users can get more info about the app they're installing. So just to show you what I mean by adding this website icon is next to each entry here, you'll have a icon probably that looks like this, like the browsers section icon. And when you click on that, it's going to open up your browser and then take you to the web page for that specific application that you just selected, so that you can get more information about that application and decide if you want to install it or not. And then someone requested a status feature for external software. So just like the Windows software, there should be a status indicator telling you whether they're installed or not. And then if it's installed, show if updates are available. So this is definitely a cool feature and I'll be working on that in the future. And then the same guy also requested an indicator for app purchases to include if these apps are free, partially free, or a paid application. So I'll see how I'm going to add all of that and if I'm going to add all of that, but it's definitely a cool idea. So I will pay some attention to that and see if I can make that work. Then I'm also working on an issue that downloading ADW Cleaner or Malwarebytes is not working. Then someone requested that we add an ability to select the programs that users currently have installed on their computers to the external app section and that they can be added to the config file. So this means Winhance will have to scan your computer for the currently installed applications and then display those in the external apps section, and we'll also need to get a way to add that to the config file. So this is not going to be such an easy implementation, but I'm sure we'll get it working. And then a lot of you guys requested that I add some packages to the external software section. So I am going to be adding all of these requests that I got up until now to the external software section in the next update. And I'm thinking about also doing a recording while I'm adding these items to the external software section. So let me know if you'd like to see that in one of these Winhance development videos. And if you would like to see more videos like this, where I take you more behind the scenes during the development of this application. Next, in the optimize screen, first in the Windows security settings, I'm currently working on improving the user account control slider or implementation to match all of the available options in Windows. So the user account control seems to be automatically set to high if a user has selected a value higher than that in Windows. And this is due to Winhance not having all the available user account control options. So what I mean is, if you look in the optimizations tab here, I've only got low, moderate, and high. But if you have a look at the user account control settings in Windows itself, it actually has 4 states that it can be set to. So currently this third value that you see here, that matches the high value in Winhance. So if you were to set it to the highest value, the always notify value, and you save that and you then open Winhance again, it sets it back to this third value here, because currently Winhance doesn't know about the 4th value here, and then it automatically sets it to the highest available in Winhance. And that's definitely a bug. It shouldn't be changing the user account control settings while the application is starting up. So I'm going to be changing that, but I'm thinking of changing this from a slider to a combo box like I have in the power settings here, so that you can choose between the 4 different sections. And I can also give it a little bit better descriptions this way than just having low, medium, or high. Then moving on, in the power management section, I want to improve the power section so it detects all power plans on the PC and then adds indicators next to each power plan in the drop-down menu showing what currently exists. So what I mean by that is if you have a custom power plan, it's going to detect the custom power plan with its name. And then I also want to add status indicators next to each of these plans so that you can see if the plan is available on your system or not. Because obviously your selected plan or the current plan that's active on your system will be the plan that you have selected in the drop-down box here. So in my thinking, we should only need status indicators telling us if the plan is available on your system or not. And even if it's not available, if you're going to select it, it's just going to create and import that power plan anyway. So I'm still thinking exactly what I'm going to do here. But basically, if you have a custom power plan that you created yourself, Winhance will detect that and then also list it in the available options here. Then the next improvement I want to make here is to have toggles that toggle the power config commands on the currently applied power plan, because currently importing the ultimate performance power plan just automatically applies all the recommended power config commands, but there's no control over it. So what I mean by all of that is to have individual toggles in this power settings section here for the power config commands. So what I mean by that is if you go to the power plan options, this turn off the display and put the computer to sleep and these advanced power settings that you see here, those are all handled by power config commands. And currently, in this version of Winhance, when you import the ultimate performance plan, it changes all of these settings to recommended values, but those recommended values don't work for every single user. So for example, some people don't want the desktop slideshow to be paused, and currently the ultimate performance plan does that. So with the new changes, it doesn't matter which plan you select here, you can then toggle the power config commands individually so that you have more control over exactly what gets applied. But by default, I'm still going to have the ultimate performance power plan apply all of the recommended settings, but then you'll have toggles here for each individual setting, and then you can just disable the ones that you don't want to use. Then in the gaming and performance section, I need to review the mouse related settings and why enhanced mouse precision won't work anymore due to the mouse related tweaks in the gaming section. So if we have a look at the gaming section, there's some options here that sets the smooth mouse Y curve and the X curve. And then we also got mouse acceleration threshold 1 and 2. And then we also have the enhanced pointer precision entry here. So I think some of these items might be conflicting with one another. I'm not completely sure yet, but I am going to review that sometime soon. Then someone also mentioned that I should consider adding preset options in the optimization tab, like minimal, recommended, and extreme optimizations. But like the note says that I made here, this can also be done with the preset config files if developed and shared. So I don't know if I'll be adding this into the UI. I would much rather people just take the time to create the config files with their recommended settings, whether that be minimal, recommended, or whatever. And then you can always use the config file to just apply your settings in literally 5 seconds on a new install of Windows or whatever. You just have to take some time to get your config file set up the way you like. So I don't know if I'll do this. I'd much rather people just create their own config files, or some of you guys can develop config files for Winhance and then you can share that with your community or whatever. I might even make my own config files that I'll upload to the GitHub page that you guys can use. But once again, the whole point of developing Winhance the way I'm developing it now is so that users have more control over what settings they want applied. If we go back to my recommended settings or another person's recommended settings, there's always one or two things or more that some people don't agree with. In the previous version of Winhance, the complaint was people want more control over the settings. And now it goes back to they basically just want to click one or two buttons and then everything should be done. So you do have that by taking the time to create your config file and then saving the config file so that you can just import it to Winhance and then literally have all of the settings applied for you in 5 or 10 seconds. But moving on, I'm going to add a disable high precision event timer under gaming. Then I'm also fixing this issue where removing the Xbox app gives people a pop-up where it says get an app to open this MS gaming overlay, and it's just a simple registry entry that we need to add. Then next in the notification section, I'm going to add toggles for location notifications and Windows security notifications. In the Explorer improvements, I'm adding a always show all system tray icons registry entry But this only works on Windows 10. It doesn't work on Windows 11. So what this means is basically on Windows 10, you'll have the option of grouping these system tray icons, like you can see in this picture here, or they'll be all displayed on the taskbar, and you won't have this little arrow up here that you need to click to get to the different icons. They'll just all be visible on the taskbar all the time. But unfortunately, Windows 11 doesn't have this, so it's only for Windows 10. Then there's an issue that when right-clicking the quick access panel, it crashes Explorer because of the classic context menu implementation that we have. So I need to test that and see if I can replicate it. Then I'm busy adding toggles to give you the following options. So you can show hidden files, folders, and drives, and then also uncheck the hide protected operating system files. So those items are basically what you can find in the folder options in the View tab, where you have this show hidden files, folders, and drives, hide empty drives, hide extensions for known file types, and all of these different settings here. So I'll see which of these I want to add, but that is also coming in the next update. Then I'm adding a toggle to remove the lock screen. We'll add an option not to compress the wallpaper. And then in the future, I might add a toggle button so that you can remove the open in terminal option from the right-click context menu. And then also I might add a toggle to remove the shortcut text and disable always ask before opening window that appears when you open certain applications or files. So this shortcut text is just if you have a desktop shortcut and it has this dash shortcut next to it. So I might do that in the future. But moving on, in the Windows Updates section, something I've already implemented is to change the exclude drivers from Windows Updates toggle label to do not include drivers with Windows Updates, so it matches what Windows says in the configured update policies. And basically what this user said is it is a little confusing that Winhance says exclude drivers from updates, but when you go to the configured update policies, it says do not include drivers with Windows updates. So I just updated the label, so it also says do not include drivers with updates, so that it matches what Windows says in Windows settings. Then some other general requests, features, and issues. I am busy improving the scrolling speed to make it faster in all views. So basically in these views, the scrolling speed isn't as fast as I'd like it to be. And this goes for all of the views. It also depends on how much content is in that view. But I need to make this a little bit faster, although I've had some complaints from people on laptops saying that it's too fast when they scroll on the touchpad. So I'm going to see what I'll do there. Then we've got some other requests like deloading the ink handwriting main store, adding the old F8 menu to the startup screen. We have this issue where some people can't type in the start menu search bar, and this is due to old tweaks that was included in the first version of Winhance, and I need to investigate that issue to see why that happened, because I don't have the same search tweaks in the new Winhance that was in the initial PowerShell version of Winhance. Then in the future sometime, we're going to add translations for different languages, but it's not currently a top priority of mine. I need to get most of the issues fixed and make the application actually good. We're going to add a posting template and wiki. So these posting templates is for issues so that we can get more information on the issues, so that we don't have duplicate issues, and that it's just an overall better experience for everyone who's looking at the issues and making sense of everything that's happening on this repo here. And then the same for the wiki, which is basically the documentation that we're going to add sometime to give people answers to some things they might struggle with when using the application. But this is all part of the development, and we're taking it one step at a time. Then another general request was to disable the Windows search indexing tool, and maybe this item and people that can't type in the start menu search bar might be related, and I'll have a look at that while I'm working on it. And then for UI improvements, I'm currently working on reworking the toggles so that it's clearer if something is enabled or disabled, and I'm going to see if I can work some color into this. I think in the light theme of Winhance, it's pretty obvious whether something is enabled or disabled, but I can see in the dark theme that it might not be as obvious, and I might have to change these knobs so that they're also yellow like the rest of the stuff in the dark theme. Then last on the list here, sometime in the future, I'm going to update the tooltips to be more descriptive about what a toggle does. So if you hover over a tweak, you'll see that it does give a small description like it controls account information access, but that is quite generic and it doesn't give you full context about what it really does. This can be changed to be a bit more descriptive so that you know exactly what happens. but I'll have to do that for every single item that already exists in Winhance. So that is going to take quite some time, and that's why I didn't include it in this next cycle that I'm working on at the moment. Just to give you an ETA of how I'm planning on doing things is I'm trying to release a new major update or a very useful update to Winhance every 1 to 2 weeks from now on for the foreseeable future, until it's stable and until it's really a good application. So that's what you can expect, an update every 1 to 2 weeks at the time of this recording. And lastly, I just want to mention, like the note says here on the README page, this tool is in development. Any issues can be reported using the Issues tab here on the GitHub page. You can just click on the Issues tab, and then you can create a new issue and then just describe your issue there. I also mentioned at the start of this video that I'm not a developer. I'm just enjoying learning more about scripting and programming and then learning as I go. And very important, please also understand that I prefer to develop and work on this project independently. So I do value all of your insights and appreciate any feedback, but don't take it personally if a pull request is not accepted. So I'm basically talking to other developers here. I don't want you to go and spend a bunch of time fixing stuff that I've outlined on this roadmap here and then creating a pull request, because I want to do these things independently. I want to do it myself, but I do value everyone's feedback with regards to creating issues and giving me ideas on what you'd like to see in the application. And that's not to say that I will implement everything that everyone asks me to do, but as you can see from this roadmap, that I do pay attention to what people are requesting. And as the Winhance development continues, I'll decide if I do implement a specific feature or change that someone has requested. So with all of that being said, I just want to thank every single one of you who supported me on Ko-Fi here. There's a bunch of you who've supported me and supported development of this project, and I thank each and every one of you. And as always, I just also want to give a special shout out to all of my YouTube members. Thanks for being a part of the community. I appreciate all of you, and I'll see all of you guys soon.